Welcome back, everyone. We are continuing the story of Jin Hyuk, whose favorite game turned into reality, and he is using his game knowledge to get super strong as soon as possible. If you haven't watched the previous part, the link is in the description. Today's goal is 500 likes, so please hit the like button to help reach the goal. Let's continue the story. It was late evening when the plane arrived in Las Vegas. He couldn't see when Alex vanished, but Jin Hyuk turned his attention elsewhere. Right now, there were more important things, and the time left for the auction was only around 4 hours. For now, I need to raise money. He needs dollars, as much as possible. I should have asked for at least 200 times the money I have. He could have asked Han Sung-jin for money, but if he asked him like that now, he could get into trouble later. From what I know, the most terrifying department of the government is the tax office. If so, all that he could do was make money himself. When he exchanged the money in his wallet, he only received $4,000. This wasn't a small amount, but the minimum bid for the auction house was around $50,000. Then, call up memories of the world. Jin Hyuk called up the skills he had saved, materials that he needed to fuse with the Eye of Truth. I was going to merge it with another ability, but now I am in a clutch moment. He wanted an elemental ability that could act as a buffer and alleviate the side effects when he abused it. On the other hand, the attribute also had disadvantages: safety and efficiency. This meant that he needed to choose one of the two. Under the current situation, Jin Hyuk needed to choose the latter. Eye of Truth, SS, and Blood Magic Chi, S, are fused. The fusion succeeded. You have acquired the Eye of Gluttony, SSS. The two skills merged into one with a bright light. Eye of Gluttony. Acquisition difficulty, SSS. Description: higher level version of the Eye of Truth. It is immune to all kinds of barriers and can see the opponent's status window and interfere with its innermost part through sharing vision and mind reading. However, there is a risk of the caster's personality being contaminated if used frequently due to the nature of Blood Demon Chi. The effect lasts 1 hour after usage. Eye of Gluttony. Although the side effects could end up with him losing his humanity due to overusage, in terms of efficiency, the skill was excellent. Not bad. Jin Hyuk nodded his head, satisfied with the result. All the preparations were complete. Now it was time to pile up money, and Las Vegas was a city that shone brighter at night than day. The Las Vegas Luxor Hotel Casino. David, the security chief, was not in the mood for the news that came to him. Chief, we are already losing over $1 million. It is the 4th dealer now. How can we not act? There is no problem with the security cameras. The barriers blocking unique abilities and skills are also working fine. The staff spoke with stiff faces. What is happening? If not for that, how can this situation even be explained? David hit the CCTV monitor. A single Asian customer had come in, and it all started with that one person. How could you come in with 4,000 and win over 100,000 in an hour? This would be nonsense even if he had the god of luck on his side. The game here was poker. It is a gamble with skills. The more people played, the more they would lose. But this man didn't. It was insane. He was winning it all while making the dealers look like idiots. The win rate shouldn't be high. His win rate would average around 10%. The biggest problem was that he wiped the table clean every time he won. It was as if he could spy on every deck on the table. What are you doing? This wasn't a unique ability or skill. If it was, the camera would have stopped it and identified them. And this made David come to a conclusion. At the same time, Jin Hyuk was busy picking up the money at the poker table. Shit. You cannot lose it this time. Somehow, I need to win. Through mind reading, he could hear the dealer's thoughts. At the same time. J1 pair. With a shared view, the dealer's hand could be seen. All he had to do was watch and place the best correctly. I cannot lose even if I want to. No matter how many barriers were spread out inside the casino, it could not block the Eye of Gluttony. This felt like a skill made for gambling. With enough time, he was sure he could sweep all the casinos in the world. Well, I will be put on the blacklist right away, so it cannot happen. But it didn't matter, because this was being done due to an urgent need for money. Call. Pair of tens. Jin Hyuk pushed the stacked chips forward. The dealer bit his lip and played the hand. Four of a kind, congratulations. Since even the bluff he used was discovered, the dealer could do nothing but admit defeat. Oh my. How many dealers has he beaten? The fourth one already. Shit. I have been in casinos for 10 years now, and this is my first time seeing such a case. He has won for quite a bit, at least over $1 million? Insane. It is like winning the lottery here. But isn't it time to end it? If they hold on until the end, the guy will make the casino go naked. Those idiots! That man is in perfect control. At this rate, the casino will close down. Pwaha! This might be a sight worth seeing. People were excited. It was because they were fascinated with Jin Hyuk's ability. Jin Hyuk began to collect the stacked chips, an extra $200,000. But still lacking. These careful dealers weren't taking the bait. Thanks to that, the bet amount was hardly growing, and now he had only 30 minutes left. I will shuffle. The dealer took a new deck of cards. He could see the magic on those fingers. Michael Pedro activated LV3 Cunning Cheating. The cards were being shuffled at high speed. 1, 2. The clover and heart moved as the cards were overlapped, and Jin Hyuk began to watch. 5, 6, and finally. The cards were shuffled and placed in front of Jin Hyuk, but Jin Hyuk didn't turn the card. Instead, he tapped the table with his fingers and tried to mess with the nerves of the dealer. Card, you won't check it? The dealer asked cautiously. Check? Yes, you need to check them before placing the bet. Well, a total of 7. The only thing I saw was messing around with 3 skills. Do I need to look at these cards? What do you... The dealer's voice trembled. The man appearing here was an excellent move, but the casino hadn't trained him properly in his acting. How could he show shock on his face right away? Enough. Ask the hotel manager or the chief of security to come out. Right now. Jin Hyuk spoke out an order. And, at that moment, who does this dirty Asian think he is to ask to see me? What, skill? Scam? You must be crazy. I think you will be taken out in an ambulance today. You get it? David appeared alongside some bodyguards. They were a group of people with balloon-like large muscles. Oh, yellow monkey. Say that again. Are you saying our casino is doing something illegal now? David asked. He was already caught, and now he couldn't give in. The guy was angry. At this point, he decided that acting shamelessly would be the best option. Of course, he didn't know who he was dealing with. And there was one thing Jin Hyuk hated hearing the most. Yellow monkey? Right. You Asians all have the same color. Besides, what with that little boy's face? You look more like a woman. And that was it. For now, I will hit your face until it turns yellow. He has completely lost it. Take him to the side so he doesn't bother the other guests. David waved his hand, and the bodyguards approached him with clenched fists. Yes, Chief. What? He must have the will to get his body broken? I don't know, man. I am looking forward to what he can do. The bodies of the Westerners were typically large, especially these bodyguards. However, the moment a large hand touched Jin Hyuk on the shoulder, the eerie sound of bones breaking could be heard. My hand. A scream came out after the hand was twisted. The man shouted in pain. What is that? Everyone was shocked, but no one had the time to understand or respond to the situation, because Jin Hyuk, who had dealt with one person, had moved to the next. Fast and light movement without a limit. Spare me. The men had their arms and legs broken. Their ligaments were completely ruptured, and they'll be unlikely to lift a fork with their own hands for the rest of their lives. Fortunately, the people who injured their arms were lucky. Some might have to be in wheelchairs for the rest of their lives. Without a single word of mercy, his hands only dealt out cruelty. Does it make sense? How can so many people be knocked out? It's a player. That person is a combat player. Well, there is no other way to explain it. Even the people who were watching were screaming at the acts of cruelty. Now, there was just one person left. The heaviest bodyguard swung his fist. It was an attack aimed precisely at his head and seemed well trained. Of course, Jin Hyuk avoided the fist by simply moving his head slightly. At the same time, he moved his right hand as fast as lightning. For a moment, the man's breathing stopped. A hand that was as hard as steel was blocking his neck, so he had no choice but to be shocked. At this sight, David was forced to finally admit the reality. This makes no sense. His judgment was utterly wrong. Chief, I found out what you asked to search. Asked? Ah, the profile. How is it? That is… Damn it, don't dawdle and say it. His name is Kang Jin-hyuk, an S rank in Korea. I checked it because of the match video, but he is a total monster. Never fight him. S-class? David was so startled that he was unable to speak. Unknowingly, he lost strength in his legs. Tremble. His heart was too startled that it skipped a beat. That is too high of a rank. Even in the US, there were less than 20 S ranks. This was even though they were being supported by the might of the whole nation. And to deal with… no. To even touch him, a mid-level scavenger. Even if the entire guild came, it wouldn't be a match. We've touched a beehive. Even David, who knew nothing about the tower, knew this. About the influence that any high ranker possessed. And if the opponent was determined to run wild. Cold sweat began to flow down his body. Either way, the casino's reputation would fall. All he had in his head now was to live. So he spat it out. I apologize. I am sorry I stopped noticing it and made a mess. He spoke in an earnest voice. But… why are you suddenly apologizing? Jin-hyuk's face became more contorted, as if he had heard something he didn't want to hear. That? I just heard about Kang Jin-hyuk from security. He had been asked why his attitude had changed suddenly. After hearing my rank, did you think you touched the wrong person? So you apologized? Would you have beaten them up if it was an F rank or a normal person? I didn't mean… David tried to make excuses, but it was too late. He felt the terrible pain of a fist digging deep into his stomach. It isn't over if you apologize, right? If you are sorry, you shouldn't have done this from the start. You wanted to kill someone and then say sorry and forget it all? Even if you regret it all and cry, the deed was done. Right. I will never make such a mistake again. Jin-hyuk stretched out his stiff body, got up, and gave a $10 chip to David. Ah, Chief. I had a nice time. You must be cold trying to work here, so on your way off duty, have a hot bowl of soup. As night filled the sky and the sun completely set, Jin-hyuk stood waiting in an abandoned alley. Nights are pretty cold here. He had come out a little early in case he missed the black market's set starting time. But the nights here were cold. Still. Because his desired condition had been achieved, even standing around waiting for another felt enjoyable. It's said that having a strong bank account gives you confidence that you didn't have before. Guess that statement is true. That is enough to win the bid for a replica. He heard that over 100 items were being auctioned, so the competition probably won't be that fierce, especially because I do not want to be noticed by others. A pearl in the mud. Items that had value incomparable to the money you'd spent it. Those who don't know the true value would be reluctant to spend their money on it. Anyway, the time had come, and the moment he thought about that, he heard the sound of a car approaching. After a moment, a black Benz stopped in front of him. The car windows were lowered, and a man in a suit was inside. Probably a black market employee. Guest 117, is it you, sir? Yes, that is me. Jin-hyuk showed him the invitation card and number. We have confirmed it. We will now take you to where the auction is held. The location is 30 minutes away, a mansion in the middle of the desert. We must hurry to not be late. But what do we do? Even without doing anything, he could glean the information using the Eye of Gluttony. I should try it on players next time. In the past, all the players had already left the Tower of Trials by the time he had made this eye. That meant that even if he wanted to experiment, there was no one to target. I do not have to worry about that anymore. If we don't want humanity to perish, we must use everything and climb the tower, checking to see if the Eye of Gluttony worked on those who use magic and those who don't. If it did work, to what level was its efficiency? It would be a different kind of pleasure to know that. Jin-hyuk let his thoughts wander as he buried himself in the car seat. It took precisely 30 minutes. We are here. Please hit the like button so more people can enjoy this awesome story and subscribe to the channel for more videos. Now let's get back to the story. With those words from the staff, the car stopped. As Jin-hyuk got out of the car, a surprising scene unfolded. Oh! He exclaimed unconsciously. He couldn't help it. This was a much more splendid and beautiful mansion than he had imagined. In addition, the starry night sky and the oasis around it harmonized with the mansion's exterior to create a picturesque sight. You can hand the invitation over to me, and have a good time, sir. After the staff rechecked the authenticity of the invitation, he bowed his head. Jin Hyuk, who was alone, went inside the mansion. The moment he went through the gate, he looked at the pond attached to the garden. The promise. You haven't forgotten it, right? Elise's voice could be heard. Right. She was still here. Helping him find a demonic human on the plane was a special achievement, so he had allowed her to wish for one thing. She had wished to see the outside world. It doesn't matter. This is fine, right? Las Vegas would have a lot more to see if they roamed outside there. There were many forms of entertainment, from fireworks to motorcycle performances, but she wanted to visit an auction house that was only for the rich? If you want to fit into the noble-blooded denizens of the night, you need to have such a level of dignity. It isn't a bad mansion. Even if it was made by humans, this is fine. She smiled happily. It is nice to think that way. Well, are you going to do something in the auction? Elise's eyes twinkled. Because she had been in a position where her subordinates would seize or steal whatever she wanted, money made no sense to Elise. Therefore, spectacles such as auctions were interesting to her. Right. Take it slow. It's almost the starting time. Jin Hyuk took out his phone and checked the time. 10 minutes. After that, a war of capital would begin. In an amphitheater located in the center of the mansion. While it was initially designed for opera, it had been transformed into an auction use that welcomed the world's wealthiest people who wanted to deal behind the scenes. Now, 175? I attend it yearly but get excited each time the auction starts. I heard the heart of the ichthyosaur is being put in the auction. Really? Is it finally being put out? It must have been thanks to the Tower of Trials finally appearing. All the treasures of constellations that disappeared in ancient times are being reproduced using magic or something. I'm looking forward to it. Even if I don't win the bid, I want to look at it. And this time, a lot of big things are coming out, and they said they are accepting precious metals or bonds along with dollars. Of course, in that case, we have to pay an additional 10% fee. Then the competition will be fierce. I need to recheck my balance. Whisper. More than half the people were seated and talking. Jin Hyuk and Elise also moved to empty seats. But at that moment, haha, nice to meet you. An old man dressed in a black hood approached him. This guy was... Jin Hyuk frowned. It was a familiar face. Not too long ago, an old man from the Demonic Human Association had pitched a strategy to the world's major guilds regarding the attack on the 3rd floor. That same old man was now here. This is another one. If he considered the man's abilities back then, he had to be at least an executive or in a position of command. And next to him was Alex, who he had met on the plane. This guy must have been quite angry. The handsome guy with a nasty mind. He was clearly angry because Jin Hyuk had taken his elixir. Naturally, Jin Hyuk didn't care much about them. Feeling sorry for your actions only applied to another human being. I am Julius Kadrick. I am sure you must have noticed it. But as you can see, I am the teacher for this stupid disciple. That was his name. Jin Hyuk activated the Eye of Gluttony. Name: Julius Kadrick. Gender: male. Age: 58. Level: 30. Strength: 11. Agility: 9. Stamina: 10. Magic: 49. Misconduct: 25. Stat points: 1. Coins: 130. Ode 5. Occupation: Necromancer. Unique ability: Gravekeeper of the Cursed Tomb. Skills: LV6. Wailing Wall. LV6 Commander's Command. LV5 Night of the Dead. LV5 Regeneration. LV4 Area Weakening. LV4 Infectious Disease. Copy condition. Psychologically, he is furious because of the recent successive failures of his incompetent subordinates. After completing the black magic class he supervises, if you get an A+ grade, you can copy one of his skills or abilities. Jin Hyuk knew it. As expected, he had great skills. He was sure that the unique ability would also create a good synergy. Gravekeeper of the Cursed Tomb was able to summon a large number of familiars with minimum use of magic. It was clearly the ability of a necromancer, but he wanted a summoner-like skill added to his repertoire. But After reading the copy conditions, Jin Hyuk felt his head hurt. The system has to be crazy. There was something about taking on the role of a passionate student. What kind of condition was this? Necromancy wasn't something he was too interested in, which made these copy conditions a bit too much for now. All of it was bad. But the ability… First of all, should we try it out? Jin Hyuk looked at the old man. Thanks to your disciple, I got a precious thing, and it was a pleasant flight. Haha. I am glad you did. So I want to ask you again about the information. This time I came to you directly. Are you talking about the masked player? Yes. It is a pretty important issue for us. It might be a bit of an exaggeration, but our life depends on it. Look at this. Was he trying to threaten him? Jin Hyuk smiled. If that was the case, I would have said I would tell you later. Unfortunately, we don't have time. We need to know it as fast as possible. I don't know. Whether they were in a hurry or not, he didn't care. What did it even have to do with him? They should have sent him a pack of 12 elixirs if they were in such a hurry. However, despite Jin Hyuk's words, Kadrik's expression was calm. Think carefully before you make a decision. From what I see, you came here to get something? So? If we put our minds to it. Kadrik's eyes looked cold as he said, It means we can buy all the items being auctioned here tonight. The Demonic Human Association's threat was that they could use their power to make life tough for him. No, it wasn't just a threat. It was definitely within their abilities to do it. Jin Hyuk bit his lip. Are you trying to pressure me into it? Things weren't looking good now. Even with $30 million in his bags, it was difficult to feel secure. But these people don't look like much. Why are they trying to act all mean to you? Elise tilted her head and spoke without much thought, making Kadrik's face distort. Because Jin Hyuk was there, he was holding on to his temper. It was the first time he's seen this girl. What do you mean by not looking like much? I am saying it literally. Why is a human who thinks he has everything in the world with just a handful of gold dust talking carelessly to my contractor? So strong. Then again, there was no such thing as winning against Elise using words. Just as Elise was getting ready to use her hands. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being patient. Now, let's start the 175th black market auction. The announcer's voice was amplified throughout the venue. Finally, it is starting. The guests, who had waited in anticipation, applauded the announcement. Thanks to it, the fight between Elise and Kadrik was halted. Before introducing the items, in addition to the auction list distributed with the invitation, there are 5 additional items prepared, so please manage your money appropriately. 5 undisclosed items. The bow-tie-wearing host was making the audience excited. Then the first item was a meteorite which fell in Arizona, USA. Not only has it been well preserved, but it can also be forged into a weapon or armor due to the magic from the Tower of Trials. Starting price is 1 million. From the very first item, things that had magic were already appearing. Weapons and armor. Weren't those the most popular keywords these days? 1.5 million. 2 million. 2.5 million. This is mine. 5 million. The value of the bids kept soaring, naturally making the atmosphere between the bidders more heated. Stupid people. Jin Hyuk, who watched the scene unfold, just clicked his tongue. A meteorite infused with magic was useless without the right smelting technology. Buying it for 5 million? Maybe if you had a hobby of collecting trash. If not, you're just wasting money. At the very least, there are no blacksmiths capable of handling meteorites right now. However, Jin Hyuk lightly placed a bid. 6 million. A price that broke the previous highest bid. Elise immediately asked, You want to buy it? At first glance, she too seemed to realize that the item was useless. Keep watching. I am not buying it. Jin Hyuk smiled. If he acted like he would spend money on this, then 6.5 million. Kadrik raised the amount, as expected. He doesn't know what I am trying to buy, so all he can do is put up a higher bet on what I bid on. No matter how much money he had, there was a limit. If he exhausted their reserves with amounts like this, he would have an advantage when the item he wanted finally appeared. 7 million. 7.5 million. As Jin Hyuk raised the price again, so did Cedric, who was going after him. He wasn't willing to give up. Won by the bidder with 7.5 million. Kadric frowned at this. He had probably realized what Jin Hyuk's intentions were, but it was already too late. He had already bought the item for $7.5 million. Besides, unless he knew what the opponent was aiming for, there was no way but to go for everything Jin Hyuk was bidding on. I hope you have a thick wallet. Jin Hyuk smiled at Kadric. The next thing is also an amazing item. This is a log from Columbus's first voyage to America. The rarest and most valuable historical relics were coming out of the black market, a mysterious bezel with unknown age, a rafflesia flower with magic, a torture device used in the Middle Ages, and so on and so forth. Jin Hyuk would throw a bait each time an item appeared that had magic or looked remotely unique. They were clear baits, too. He continued to bid the highest on each item as if he was about to give up. This was an evil man's action in a gentleman's auction. As a result, Kadric had been forced to spend over $70 million on the wackiest of items. Grunt. Kadric was grinding his teeth. He is like a loach. His face was red from both anger and shame at having to constantly fall into such obvious traps. All of this was because of money. $70 million wasn't a tiny amount of money, and were already well beyond the budget allowed by the association. But his anger rose because of the opponent's absurd strategy. Teacher, why don't we give up once? Judging from the looks of it, he doesn't seem to have a lot of money himself. But if we keep doing this, we'll run out of our own money. If they won the bid, they had to pay. You idiot! But what if he ends up getting what he wants? You are like this because you didn't do your work properly in the first place, so shut your mouth. We'll lose money, but I will be the winner here. Right. Doesn't matter if it was 70 or 100 million. In the end, the winner gets the last laugh. And an auction was a game where the wealthiest person won. At that moment, the following is an item for maniacs. Introducing the first chessboard. The host introduced the next item, which was a clunky-looking chessboard. It doesn't seem that good. It doesn't even include the chess pieces. I often take such things for a hobby, but who will? It's not like it's carved from some luxurious wood. Well, the heart of ichthyosaur will be out in a little while, so let's save some money. That's right, because that is the main point of the auction. The atmosphere changed. The item on display right now was too dull compared to the treasures that had come out before. Oddly enough, the host didn't say much either and had only described it as an item for maniacs. Of course, it must be an appealing item for certain collectors, but most of the auction audience simply ignored it. Bidding starts at $50. If you'd like it, please place your bid. $100? I will put it in my bathroom. Puahaha. I will call for $150. Just for the sake of my cat. I needed a wooden plank to sharpen Alexander's claws. $200. Absolutely, a mess. Nothing more than $200. Laughter came from the audience, save for one person. Jin Hyuk clenched his fist to calm his beating heart. Finally here! The essential item that he needed for the attack on the third-floor boss. This was why he had participated in this auction. Jin Hyuk was looking for this. Kadric and Alex didn't seem much interested in it either. The reason he was doing this? There was only one way to know if his hard work so far would pay off. 5,000. Jin Hyuk started his bid. What? 5,000? Is he crazy? A flood of uncomprehending reactions came from his fellow auction attendees. What kind of idiot would spend $5,000 on such a thing? But the laughter disappeared at the next bid. 10,000. Kadric began to enter the bidding. 15. 50. Jin Hyuk immediately raised, and Kadric followed without hesitation. Kadric's face clearly looked like he was skeptical, but he wasn't going to give up. 1 million. Jin Hyuk raised it again. 10 million. Kadric raised it even higher this time. Even after the price had jumped up by this much, he was simply raising it to ensure that Jin Hyuk didn't get it. Insane. What kind of idiot spends 10 million on a chessboard? Is there something we don't know? This is driving me crazy. I cannot keep up with this. The atmosphere turned again. Suddenly, everyone began to focus on this bid. 15 million. Jin Hyuk spoke with a heavy voice. He had already reached half the amount of money he had. And Kadric continued. 30 million. At that value, Jin Hyuk could no longer match the bid. It was already reaching the amount of money he had. We have reached our limit. Kadric began to fold his hands. The host, shocked for a second, held onto the mic. 30 million. Any more bids? Because there was a 10% auction fee, $3 million of this bid would go to the black market. When he had first submitted the item, he considered that getting $5,000 for it would already be great, but this was a fantastic number. There was no need to drag this on any longer. There were no more bids. Then the 56th item, the first chessboard, sold for 30 million. But just as he was about to end it, please hit the like button so more people can enjoy this awesome story and subscribe to the channel for more videos. Now let's get back to the story. 100 million. A voice who hadn't participated until now spoke up. The speaker was right next to Jin Hyuk. Elise? Jin Hyuk was shocked. 100 million? 100 million? Does it make sense to spend 100 million on that? Stupid. Those who had been somewhat interested in the bidding were just surprised now. They could understand if this had been one of the auction's undisclosed items, but $100 million was an absurd amount to spend on this chessboard. Kadric let out a sigh. Right. That should be that. Kadric had been confident of victory when he had discovered Jin Hyuk's money balance. All that had been left was to take away the junk item he wanted and use it as leverage for information. Right. That was how it should have gone. But this little kid clearly didn't even think of that. Does this mean she isn't a normal human? There was no way she could be normal. Just looking at the bid of $100 million, he was sure of it. However, no matter who or what the opponent was, he couldn't give up now. He had already spent 70 million on trash. If he stopped now, then it would have been all for nothing. Never. That could never happen. 110 million. 150 million. Insane. Raising the bid by 40 million in one go. What kind of auction was that kid bidding in? As the price was jumping up too high, Kadric's expression became dark. It was because reality was diverging wildly from what he had imagined would happen. 160 million. 200 million. While he worked hard to catch up, the distance was created again in one go. Such a price was hard to follow. Fine. 210 million. 300 million. 310 million. 500 million. You are saying 500 million like it is $5. Do you really have the 500 million to pay it with? Kadric had finally reached the limit of his patience and jumped up with a flushed face and heart pounding from anger. This is a whole popcorn angle. Jin Hyuk, who was watching the whole scene happen, was holding back his laughter. He had actually been somewhat confident of winning the auction without Elise. It would have been a pity, but selling the fragment of Merlin's staff from the Corridor of the Fallen would have been enough. Just a single relic. Merlin's staff would have made everyone here go crazy. Still, it was a preference of his to see other people spending their money. Just for this, he had let Elise join in this fight. She would do anything to piss off her opponent if it was her. And Kadric wasn't the type to stand still at an opponent's provocation. So he simply decided to let the two fight it out, resulting in the current situation. His prediction had been proven correct. The demonic human association was capable and had a lot of money, but... well, do they have more capital than the head of the Ataraxia family, who were known to be the rulers of the night? Jin Hyuk crossed his legs as the staff intervened. Like the gentleman said, "Could you please prove that you have the required cash balance? I do not doubt the lady, but I want a smooth-running auction." $500 million was a significant amount that even executives at well-known companies wouldn't readily have. Even with the best intentions, it was difficult to believe that this middle-school-looking girl would be able to spend such a sum. Proof? Yes. How difficult can it be? Elise waved her hand. And suddenly, the space above Elise's head began to distort, and the air began to fluctuate. Subspace? Inventory? Correct. Universal storage. That girl. She is a player? Doesn't she look like a high-ranked one? I knew she was a rare kind. The other guests were all shocked at this sight. Moments later, Elise pulled something out of her subspace inventory. It was a crown adorned with splendid jewels. Didn't you say you also take precious metals and not just dollars? That is true. But the host looked at the crown with a dubious look at its authenticity. For now, let's get it analyzed first. In preparation for such an event, the black market had prepared an appraiser capable of using magic for analysis. The appraiser activated his skill. As he did, his eyes began to tremble from shock. This cannot be. His voice vibrated violently, and even his hands were trembling. Why? Is it fake? The auctioneer asked. No, it is genuine. Thank you. So how much is the crown in your opinion? Do you think it is worth 500 million? That is difficult to answer. The appraiser shook his head while looking troubled. What? Is it tough to answer? What do you mean? The craftsmanship used to craft this crown isn't something done with modern technology. None of our current techs can even imitate it. Not able to replicate it? Then, it's from the tower. Yes. In addition, the crown tooth and the 7 winged eagles. It is a spiritual beast which symbolizes the Felstian kingdom. The fact that the crown was genuine sent the whole auction hall into chaos. It is from the tower? That thing? No. If it is the Felstian kingdom, then isn't it the most hidden ruin in the Tower of Trials? Since information about the tower had become profitable, everyone began collecting bits of information from various sources. Or at least those with money did. It's a ruin that can only be entered when in possession of a treasure that symbolizes the royal family. I've heard of it before. VV value of it? How much is it worth? The host was urging his appraiser to give a price. His laid-back way of talking had disappeared and was replaced with stiff nervousness. At a rough estimate, 3 billion would probably be a good price. Huh. 3 billion? Insane. A crown without a kingdom or a man is worth that much. Oh my. The evaluation had far exceeded expectations. With this, the owner of the chessboard was decided. Cadrick's face became stiff. Who the hell thought this small kid would become such a hurdle to his path? If the appraiser's words were correct, they wouldn't be able to win this. All the money he had access to only amounted to $700 million. I was wrong. A fatal mistake. His habit of looking down on his opponents had resulted in this. But more dangerous than the girl is Kang Jin-hyuk, who treats her like a subordinate. He looked at Kang Jin-hyuk, who was stroking the girl's hair with a proud face. Perhaps, he was a more annoying enemy than the masked player. Congratulations. We will hand the first chessboard to the lady with the crown. The host congratulated Elise. And the black market employees in their black suits delivered the chessboard, which had been sealed in a glass case. Not me. Give to him. Yes. Jin-hyuk ended up being the recipient. He tried to maintain a calm facade as he took it into his possession. If he wanted to maintain good social and life skills, he needed to act nice in front of other people. I am grateful, but isn't this too much? I feel bad. That look. He was sure he had nailed it with a score of 95-100. He bit lightly on his lip to show slight desperation as he bowed his head. It is a pity that this collection of mine is ruined, but I still have several treasures of that kingdom. Besides, I can't bear to see smiles on the faces of people who dared to act rudely to my contractor, even if it meant death. This kid, she sure knows how to say strange things. Even if she pretends to not care, she puts up her treasured item for my sake. To be honest, he felt touched. In the future, he would have to improve his treatment of Elise. Maybe put a cushion inside the ring. And while Jin-hyuk was smiling, Cadrick's hand rested on Alex's shoulder. We must go there because we need to prepare for the attack on the boss. They had come here to initiate contact with Jin-hyuk, but could not stay much longer. So, as soon as the auction is done, kidnap Kang Jin-hyuk. Me? Right, you can do it. Besides, can't you make a lot of corpses? Even if the opponent was an S-class, how could he go up against a necromancer? He will be powerless in front of the black magic, which released legions of undead. Before the tower had appeared, Alex was a surgeon who had a unique sense when handling the human body. Of course, it would be a massive blow if it became known that many influential people around the world had been turned undead by his hands. But since everyone knew that the dead could not speak, the truth would never come out. And the woman? Remove her! I was waiting for those words. Alex smiled. Finally, an opportunity had come for him to repay the humiliation. After about 3 hours, the final item was finally sold. In many ways, it was a very successful auction. No matter what anyone else said, the 175th round of auctions would be remembered by history for a long time. Thank you for having joined us for this event tonight. When you leave the premises, please follow the same procedure using the cars that we… At the moment, the host was about to end proceedings and bow to his guests. A large wave of energy crashed through the venue. Cracks appeared in the ceiling as the building's pillars collapsed. Save me! What kind of madness is this? Avoid it. Just avoid it. No one could understand what just happened. On the surface, their casual relationships had been good, but everyone was focusing on their survival right now. They needed to get out, just 1 second faster than others. All of them were desperately trying to stay alive, but there was no place to escape. Instead, they were closer to hell. Splatters of blood accompanied a flash of light. A man at the front of the crowd grabbed his neck as a hole appeared in it. "Where are you going in such a hurry? You are my precious sacrifices." Alex stood at the entrance as he greeted the people warmly. Next to him were monsters of horrifying shapes and forms. All the other exits were blocked by the broken pillars and had transformed the hall into a prison. A prison one could never escape from. And right now, it was a party I really liked. Jin Hyuk, who was looking over the hall, turned towards Alex. "You took this too far." He crossed a line he shouldn't have. With this, the chapter ends here. Please hit the like and subscribe button and comment saying Part 7 down below. See you guys soon.